You're an editor in a national newsroom. Two mass shootings come in over the wire. One took place inside of a home, the other at a crowded grocery store. Both saw multiple confirmed deaths. Both suspects are dead. What do you cover first? And which shooting gets the most airtime? Experts say people perceive equally deadly mass shootings in different ways depending on how random the violence appears. And that appearance can affect what gets covered and how. Take a look at recent violence in one city, Indianapolis. While the events didn't happen at the same time, the number of deaths in each fit the Gun Violence Archive's description of a mass shooting. 4 or more people shot and or killed during the same event. There have been 3 in the city this year. One occurred January 24th, 5 people, one of them pregnant, killed inside of a home. The second, March 13th, 4 people shot and killed at a home, allegedly following an argument over a stimulus check.
Malik Halfaker was taken into custody in connection to a quadruple murder.
The third, April 15th, a gunman killed 8 people at a FedEx facility.
Started shooting in the parking lot, got inside.
We examined national news coverage of each shooting from 4 different outlets, including Newsy, the day of and the week following. Here's what we found. Excluding things like opinion pieces, the first shooting at the home was covered 9 times. The second covered 3 times. The third at FedEx, 48 times.
If it happens to people who are not like us, and we think, okay, well, this is something that happens to those kind of people and not to my kind of people. We look for ways to kind of create a distance from the event.
According to Paul Slovic, a psychologist who studies risk and decision-making, it's known as perception of risk.
It was a terrifying situation for thousands of people.
Take, for instance, the 2002 DC sniper attacks.
You didn't know where this person was going to show up next, so you couldn't sort of protect yourself by staying away from the place where it's likely to happen, because you didn't know that. One of the things that affects our perception of risk is a sense of control.
So an editorial team can make the argument that there's an unknown risk of a grocery store shooting. It could happen to anyone, and thus the audience has a greater need to know about it. On the flip side, audience members can remove their own interests if the shooting takes place in a situation or an area they can avoid.
The sort of mass shootings that we see in the news that get the live cable coverage and alerts on your phone from national news companies make up less than 1% of shooting victims. The mass shootings that don't get covered are mostly those harming Black and brown communities.
According to Gun Violence Archive, of the U.S.'s nearly 15,000 gun-related deaths in 2021, around 200 come from mass shootings. Jim McMillan, a Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist and the founder of the Center for Gun Violence Reporting, held a summit asking reporters, doctors, and community leaders what can be done to cover all types of gun violence, public or domestic, in an ongoing, comprehensive manner.
Journalists should take a public health response to gun violence. And what that means is to approach gun violence as an epidemic, as the epidemic that it is. And like all epidemics, one that can be contained and disrupted and mitigated with intervention strategies and eradicated by addressing root causes.
That's contextual, humanized reporting on every mass shooting. That can be hard given their numbers, and it can also lead to something known as psychic numbing, where the audience has trouble compassionately processing so much death. However, McMillan says that may be necessary for newsrooms in a time where gun violence is, as the CDC describes, a public health crisis. Amber Strong, Newsy, Washington.